order our July 14th, 2025 council meeting. We begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and it is Council Member Jackie Bolower's birthday today. So as a thank you for working today, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and happy birthday, council member.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Council members Aldred,
Here.
Bolower,
Here.
Bruce,
Here.
Dwyer,
Here.
Noel. Here. Mayor Rich.
Here.
Thank you.
And note that Mr. Bridges advised us in advance that he is traveling on business and sends his regards. Item 2, proclamation recognizing July 2025 as Parks and Recreation Month. And Mr. Aldred, as our Parks and Rec liaison, would you please read this proclamation?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, absolutely. So proclamation, Parks and Recreation Month, July 2025. Whereas parks and recreation programs, such as the programs offered through the City of Farmington Hills Special Services Department, are an integral part of communities throughout our state and country, including in Farmington Hills. And whereas parks and recreation promote health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. And whereas parks and recreation programs encourage physical activity by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and other activities that promote active lifestyles. And whereas parks and recreation programming and educational activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education help our kids learn and grow. And whereas parks and recreation increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our communities, ensuring the ecological beauty of our city and providing a place for children and adults to connect with nature. And whereas the City of Farmington Hills Special Services Department is committed to offering recreational opportunities for individuals of all ages, interests, and abilities. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Teresa Rich, Mayor of the City of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim July 2025 as Parks and Recreation Month in Farmington Hills and encourage everyone to explore the programming offered through the city's Special Services Department, including aquatics, ice skating, visual and performing arts, fishing, lifelong learning, fitness, nature center classes, athletics, special events, and more.
Thank you. And accepting it is Ellen Schnackle.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Schnack. I'm the Director of Special Services for the City of Farmington Hills. Thank you for proclaiming and celebrating the 40th anniversary of Parks and Recreation Month. The City of Farmington Hills parks and facilities are your recreation destination. We operate over 650 acres of parkland and over 7 miles of hiking trails. These provide healthy outdoor adventures, soothing natural surroundings, and unlimited good times with family and friends. So we encourage everyone to get outside and play. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do still need to approve our regular session agenda. Is there a motion? Ms. Knoll?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for July 14 as published.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
We have motion and support. This is a regular vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, thank you very much. And next item is any announcements or presentations from city boards, commissions, or public officials. Anyone here have something they would like to say this evening? Seeing no rush to the podium, we will go on to correspondence. Any council members have correspondence they would like to share? Yes, please.
Well, I know actually all of the council received this because the city manager put it in our mail. But I just wanted to make sure that all the city council read the mail as well as inform the public. We had a really nice thank you note from a lady whose, her relative is buried in Utley Cemetery, which is one of the city's historic cemeteries. And she came here a couple years ago. She's into genealogy and was doing some research and went to the cemetery and noted, unfortunately, what bad condition the cemetery was in. Many of the tombstones were broken. Many of them had been broken for quite some time, and the ground and the grass had grown over them. And our Historic District Commission here in Farmington Hills, which is a city-sponsored commission, we have really great commissioners that are very dedicated to preserving the history of Farmington Hills. They're very knowledgeable, very educated on the history of our community, and hard workers. And they have been working on restoring these cemeteries and improving them. They've used their budget to repair many of the tombstones. And they've been working with our DPW department to kind of spruce up the care of the trim back the bushes and cut the grass and just improve the looks of them, as well as to fix and repair many of the tombstones. Not only have our HDC commissioners been out in the cemeteries doing the work themselves, they've also been working with some local Boy Scout troops who have come out and helped wash the tombstones. You have to be very careful. You have to use a certain solution so that you don't damage them, as obviously they're many years old. And so I just want to thank the HDC commissioners. I want to thank the Boy Scouts that have worked on this project. It's really wonderful because now this lady wrote a thank you. She came back to Farmington Hills very recently and went to the Utley Cemetery and actually took pictures to show the improvement and how much better the cemetery looked. And she was just so pleased to see that her relative's tombstone had been repaired. So hopefully you all read the nice thank you, but I just wanted to mention it so members of the public know about it as well.
Thank you very much. Any other correspondence? Okay, that then takes us to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine, administrative, or non-controversial by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item may be removed from the consent agenda for consideration. They will be read by our Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 6 is recommend approval of a contract for sponsorship solicitation services to the Superlative Group, CMR 72599. Number 7, recommend approval of an award of purchase of roofing supplies, inspections, and project management to Garland/DBS, Inc. in the amount of $297,710.01. An award of bid for Fire Station 1 and Fire Station 3 roof replacement materials to Royal Roof Company, Inc. in the amount of $329,750,000, CMR 7-25100. Number 8, recommend approval and award of a proposal for the radio signal improvement at Fire Station 2 to Mobile Communications America, Inc. in the amount of $27,272, CMR 725-101. Item 9, recommend approval of diesel engine rebuild and repair of fire engine 33 to Cummings Sales and Services in the amount of $57,749.05, CMR 725-102. Item 10, recommend approval of a request for employment under Section 10.101A of the City Charter for a pickleball instructor, CMR 725-103. Item 11, recommend approval of a request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a concessions attendant, CMR 725-104. Item 12, recommend approval of a request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a dispatcher, CMR 725-105. Item 13, recommend approval of a special events permit for the Nissan Car and Coffee event to be held on Saturday, August 23rd, 2025. Item 14, recommend approval of a special event permit for the inauguration of the Baha Camaras Spiritual Mediation Center to be held on Saturday, July 19, 2025. Item 15, recommend approval of a special event for ISKCON Colored Festival to be held on Saturday, July 26, 2025. Item 16, recommend approval of the City Council study session minutes of June 9, 2025. Item 17, recommend approval of City Council regular session minutes of June 9, 2025. And number 18, recommended approval of City Council special study session minutes of June 23, 2025. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Okay, Dr. Bruce?
I would move the approval of the consent agenda as read by the Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, the motion, is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Aldred. This is a roll call vote.
Yes. Council members Bolaware,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Dwyer,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Aldred,
Yes.
Mayor Rich.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That then takes us to council member comments and announcements. Anyone? Okay, Mr. Aldred.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening I'd like to highlight the first ever Youth Police Academy for ages 12 to 16, starting on Monday evening, August 4th. And this program is going to run for 2 weeks, and it's 3 nights a week, and it's going to accept up to 30 students. And I strongly encourage our community to take full advantage of this fantastic opportunity. I think it's going to be a great way for young people to learn about the police, to connect in a fun way, and even explore the potential career in public service. And then for more information, you can sign up on our, more information on how to sign up is available on the city website. So I'd like to, and having participated myself in the Citizen Police Academy, I'm confident that this is, this youth version is going to be outstanding. So I really recommend it. And I think it's an initiative, is another example of how our police department's commitment to educating, removing barriers, and building connections within our community. The idea for this program actually emerged from discussions with community members, and I think it reflects the department's responsiveness to residents' needs. Our police department is not indifferent, but strives every day to meet the high standards of law enforcement. And I'm incredibly proud of all of our city staff, our exceptional fire department, but tonight I want to express my deep appreciation and for the outstanding work of our police department and the leadership of Chief Piggott. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Since the last time we had a regular meeting, we've had 2 Walk the Hawk sessions. We've moved them to evening for the summertime, so there will be 1 more evening session. That they're always the second Tuesday of the month, and this will be on the 12th of August. It's again 7 p.m. at the Hawk. In the last 2, here are some of the topics that have come up for conversation. One is accessible motorized changing tables, accessible washrooms for adults in our facilities. What we're doing with senior activities, and this was both before and after the special meeting we had about next steps for the Caustic Center. We've had conversation about what will happen with employees. Should we go forward with the potential contract with Oakland County regarding Heritage Park? And we've had conversation about responsible contracting. There have been a number of people who have been on various construction and building projects in our state in the last couple of months who unfortunately will never go home again from work because they were killed at work. And so they wanted to talk about responsible contracting and making sure that vendors have appropriate training. And then one topic that I've brought up, and I'm like to start sharing with council as we go forward, is at the most recent U.S. Conference of Mayors sessions, one of the conversations was about vaping products. There's an issue nationally about vaping products that are being brought in supposedly illegally through Chinese markets, and they target kids. And so I've asked the U.S. Conference of Mayors folks if there is any model legislation or ordinance that we could look at, so that would be something that we could study further and make sure we're appropriately protecting our kids. So that's what I had to share, and that then takes us to the city manager update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to let the city know that the city of Farmington, or folks in the city know that the city is, a lot of cities. Farmington Hills is working with a group called Make Food Not Waste to create a blueprint for reducing food waste. And we want to hear from, obviously, our community. So how do you do that? Well, there's a survey available for community members and businesses to share their input through Friday, July 25th. And that survey will help us gauge awareness about food waste, learn more about how residents and businesses handle food waste, and explore interest in a potential future composting program. So you can find the community and business surveys on the city's website at www.fhgov.com/food waste survey, all one word. Again, that survey will be up until July 25th. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And that then takes us to item 3, public hearing and consideration of zoning text amendment 3, 2025, to revise OS 4 Office Research District, which is basically the 12-mile road corridor, and off-street parking standards for multi-family residential and office uses. Good evening, Ms.
Good
Kettler-Schmaltz.
evening. Chairman Kettler-Schmaltz from Planning and Community Development. Wanted to introduce the item for you. We have a zoning text amendment that encompasses both changes to the OS4 Office Research District, which is primarily the 12-mile corridor, but also includes some property along I-275 at the south end of the city, and also off-street parking standards for multifamily residential and office uses to bring more into alignment the modern standards for parking within Farmington Hills. I have just a little info for you. You've seen this after it went through the Planning Commission for their review and public hearing. At 2 previous study sessions, we have incorporated some changes. Joe from Giffords Webster will go over that real quick for you when we get this moved on, to let you know what we've done as far as the modifications to the text for this evening. And I did want to remind that this is a public hearing, and we'll be looking for public comment before City Council makes their determination. So I'm going to turn it over to our representative from Giffords Webster, unless you have any questions for me right off the bat. No? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Joe Tangari. I'm with Giffords Webster, the city's planning consultant. So you're looking at draft zoning amendment ZTA 3 2025. And there are a few different components to that zoning amendment. One is that it does define a couple of new terms for your zoning ordinance. One of those terms is artisan manufacturing, and the other is live-work unit. So these are different kind of small-scale opportunities for artisan ware production that we've not identified in the zoning ordinance previously that we're now identifying in this district. Second, the OS4 district itself is modified by this amendment. That includes the intent statement of the district, which has been modified to reflect some of what was in the master plan that was adopted last year. Adding and recategorizing some of the principal permitted and special land uses that are permitted in that district. Incentivizing the mixing of uses within that district, modifying building setback and height requirements within that district, and to add and remove conditions applicable within office zoning districts. So some of those are just other regulations that apply but are outside of the scope of setbacks or building heights. Next, it sets forth some standards regarding standalone parking structures within non-residential districts. What do those have to look like, et cetera. And finally, it revises the parking standards of Section 34-5.2 to reduce the number of parking spaces required for multiple family residential and office uses, provide some increased flexibility, and add some bicycle parking standards as well. There were some changes made to that text since the June 9th, 2025 City Council study session. That was per City Council's request. The list of permitted uses within the OS4 district was updated to be a little more clear about what's being permitted there. Previously, it had referred to another district, and some of the uses that were listed there, those are simply listed now rather than referenced. So it's a little more of a one-stop where you can see what's permitted in the district, rather than having to refer to another page. Which of course results in a clearer and more user-friendly ordinance. We also explicitly listed all those restaurant types among the permitted uses as requested. I certainly am available to answer questions or engage in discussion if you so desire.
Okay, are there any questions by council before we open the hearing? Please, Mr. Aldred.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on that particular point about listing the uses, and just for my education here, listed the principal permitted uses and the special approval uses, and I see sit-down restaurants is listed under special approval uses, I believe, as opposed to being, yeah, let me just pause right there. So is that correct? If this was an outbuilding and we wanted to have a sit-down restaurant along 12 Mile, that's still a special approval?
So sit-down restaurants are listed twice, in fact. One is if they are located within a mixed-use building, they are permitted by right, and if they are a standalone building, they are a special land
It'd be a
use.
special,
Exactly.
so in the process of that would be a come before Planning Commission for approval.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you.
Does that mean you're suggesting something else, or do you want to take that
No,
forward?
that was just a clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we open the hearing? I did have a couple. In item B4, business schools or colleges, why the limitation on just that kind of training? Wondered if there was any conversation about that. I didn't see anything in the planning minutes, but I thought that was pretty darn specific.
That is carried forward from the current ordinance, so it's unchanged. My speculation as to why it is written that way in the current district is because it was an office district and it was considered to be a kind of a complementary use to the office activity that was already occurring in the district. That's pure speculation on my part, but that does seem to be what the connection is. And as I said, it was carried forward unchanged from the existing ordinance.
But if a business owner wanted to open a Kumon or a mathnasium or something like that in this, that would not be a permitted use?
I think I don't know.
It would be a private school designation.
A private school designation, okay. Yes, I think this language would have to be changed to permit something along those lines.
I don't know if that's something council would want to consider, but it occurred to me as I was looking through this. The other that occurred to me is in item B12, secondary use which is accessory to and located in the same building as a principal permitted use, and then there's a reference to 34-4.23. What does that mean?
34-4.23 is another section of the zoning ordinance, and I will quickly look up what that is.
Thank you. I know we were trying to do away with references to other things within the listing.
Yeah, 4.23 is a set of standards specific to secondary uses in the office districts. So that's a pretty standard thing in the zoning ordinance, that when you have use-specific standards, they're located in Article 4 and will refer to them from the list of special, permitted and special land uses.
Could you give an example, please?
One of the standards here, let's see. Actually, a lot of these standards apply more in the OS1, OS2, and OS3 districts. But for instance, in those districts, the floor area of that individual secondary use is not allowed to exceed 2,000 square feet. That doesn't apply in the OS4, but that's an example of one of the standards.
And not that I have Birmingham envy or anything, but I am pretty familiar with some of the mixed-use buildings in downtown Birmingham. And one that I have frequented has a hair salon and a yoga studio. And so I believe that under the listings we have here, the hair salon or barber shop or whatever like that, shoe repair, I'm guessing, would be a permitted use.
That's correct, under personal services, yes.
Right. However, the yoga salon might not, or the yoga studio might not. So I'm thinking that would we need to also call, if council thinks that should be included in the mixed-use availability, that perhaps indoor recreation facility should be a permitted use as well?
It can be added into the code that we're looking at this evening. Indoor recreation has been utilized not only for a yoga studio, but for other fitness. In addition to, you would need to look at a limitation in the square footage on that. Otherwise, you're going to be encouraging not only your yoga and your fitness for indoor recreation, but also something along the lines of indoor go-karts or into trampoline parks, which require a lot more square footage than what you're aiming for with this description.
Okay, thank you.
And the B2 district currently has that called out within it as far as the limitation on size and those types of uses.
Yeah, so if it's council's pleasure to add that, that could be something that we would add. Any other comments before we open the public hearing, please?
I just have a quick question here on page 5, under 5. It's 5E. This has to do with the conditions that a developer would have to meet in order to receive the additional height.
Yeah.
Is that, like, for example, here, the conditions are, you have to set aside 15% of the land for public use, developed as either a park or a plaza, also art installation. How much discretion is given to that? I mean, is that something that would come to council and be negotiated, kind of like we negotiate a PUD? Just because I'm thinking that's the type of thing where flexibility might be needed. They may not have the ability to, or council may say, well, rather than the park or the plaza, we'd rather have more buffering at the front of 12 Mile. Or we'd rather have more buffering between your mixed-use development and an existing building. We may, rather than a park or a plaza, we may just want green space. What flexibility is given there? Because that's the type of thing when you're doing infill development, that every situation is different. And for example, if this, if the mixed-use development is right up along 696, where, by the way, that's where it's targeted for this additional height, right up on the expressway, so that it's not close to residential or the single family further north. You may not want the plaza there because it's right up against the expressway. You may want the park closer to 12 Mile, for example, and maybe the developer owns that property as well. Maybe they own all the way from 12 to 696 and it may be a separate development, but maybe they say, well, I don't think it makes sense to put it by 696. It'd be better to put some green space or walking trails up by closer to 12 Mile. So these are hypothetical examples, but I think that those type of situations could come up. So how much flexibility do we have to negotiate
There wouldn't be with this code, the ability to negotiate. It's fairly prescriptive because we're looking at this for the section that we're looking at. When you get into the flexibility, that would be more in the lines of a PUD or a contract approval rather than for the entirety of the
But
district.
this may not be developed as a PUD,
Correct.
so then we have no
Correct.
flexibility.
And development companies typically like to have assurance as to what it is that they would be agreeing to. So we're seeing this as a more attractive option for those folks along the OS4.
I do like most of the changes in here, but this is the one I think we've been discussing this now this isn't new. We've been discussing these changes for a while. And this is one I have raised some issues with over the past couple months. Just letting you know, overall, I like everything, but this is one I still have concerns with.
And Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, the approval would be through Planning Commission, not through council.
Yeah, I'm just really worried that, there could be a situation where the additional height is approved and they put in a plaza that it's useless up against 696. I mean, even though it may be for a mixed-use building, that might not be the right spot for it. And that's why I was wondering if we could have any flexibility. And if, it may not happen, that there's the ability to put it someplace else, but I think we should at least try to somehow allow for that. Just my comments on that one.
So, Mr. Eldred, is this responding to Ms. Knoll? Yes, okay.
Yeah,
please.
following up on the same point, thank you. Yeah, I had a similar concern around that because we've discussed, there were several discussions on this in terms of the height and whether it's 400 feet within 696, up to 100 feet with the set aside, but even away from 696 is 85 feet. If there is a 15-foot set aside. So for public use, such as park or plaza, how was that 15% come to? How was that? What was the rationale for 15%? Was there other areas or developments or other cities that have done similar wording and that's worked out well for them? Should it be 20%? Should there be some flexibility? I think in principle, we're heading in the right direction here, and we understand the need for greater height. But I have a slight concern that this one's going to come back to haunt me.
Okay. I'm going to let Joe respond.
Yeah, I think when it was an initial discussion with the Planning Commission, it was thought that 15% would give you a reasonable amount of space on just about any site that you were dealing with, a smaller site or a larger site. You could get a really nice big space on a larger site. And then on a smaller site where they've got less room to move, you're still getting something, but you're not, taking away a huge portion of the site and making it less usable. I think that's really the rationale behind that 15%.
So it takes away the sea of asphalt, basically.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for with a lot of this. Yeah, we're trying to get rid of the giant parking lots that are extremely underutilized at the moment.
Dr. Bruce?
Yes, for item E, if we exchange the word shall with may, so that it would say up to an additional 20 feet of height may be permitted, and then that would be a negotiation between the Planning Commission and the developer, but it's not necessarily guaranteed, but it would be some sort of negotiation so that there would be some flexibility there.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility.
So as we're looking through the list of things we may be adding or changing in this ordinance, let's include that as well.
Steve?
Oh, sorry, Council.
Well, if I could just confirm, this is, this section of the ordinance that you're talking about is basically providing for projects that would be run through the site plan approval process,
Yes.
which is basically an as-permitted type of process, where if you meet all the standards, you receive approval. I don't think that these standards provide for a lot of flexibility because it enables a developer to come in, know what they're going to get, and come to the city to be able to get it. Where the flexibility exists is in things like that you provide in your ordinance are in other areas of the ordinance, like special land uses, planned unit developments, cluster options, and so forth, where there is a lot of mays and can, or you do this, we may do that, and things like that, and there's more of a back and forth. Now, I believe I'm understanding this part of the ordinance correctly and its intent here, and so if you put that language in there, it changes the dynamics of the type of approval that you're allowing in the city, is my concern. And you're-
Probably have to make that a special land use, the additional height.
Right. I think you're entering into that territory. If you're going to do that, I'd suggest that we take a step back and take a look at that and come back and give you some more definite advice in that regard, so that you don't change some of the fundamentals of this part of the ordinance by doing it without knowing what that means. I don't want you to do something when we're not certain of the impacts it might have without taking a look at it first, because it hasn't been investigated or looked into by the Planning Commission or by staff at this point, or my office, to be completely forthright on that.
Was there follow-up?
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable with this yet. I would be comfortable with this ordinance with E removed and then continue discussion on E. And if we want to go forward with it, we can always put it on the agenda in a couple months after discussion and amend this to add it in. Or we may decide we want to change the percentage from 15 to 10 or 20, or we may want to do something different. I'm just not ready to support this quite yet. And I hate to hold up the entire ordinance because I like everything else in it. It's just this one sentence. I feel like I need more discussion. I don't know where everyone else is, but that's where I am on this one.
Yeah. I'm looking at head nodding, and I don't know that we would be able to count to 4 with it in there. So, let's think of that when we make our motion.
Okay.
But,
That'd be a public hearing.
okay to do the public hearing? All right. I am now opening the public hearing. Anyone who would like to speak on these zoning text amendments, please come forward. Seeing no rush to the podium, I am closing the public hearing. Council, what is your pleasure? So potential motions.
Let's see, it's 5E.
Approve it as is without that. Yeah.
Folks in our audience, there's a lot of pages to this. Okay. Is there a proposed ordinance in this that I'm maybe missing?
It's so long, because all the minutes keep getting included. That makes it like 100 pages. Scroll through.
I'm not seeing a wording. I'm not seeing.
Charmaine, is there something in here that is a motion for us? Or should we just do the, that we move to accept the proposed revisions with the specific changes in it?
Yes. We
Okay.
did not provide a draft motion on that one.
Okay. So,
It's,
Dr. Bruce,
all I know it is
Can I
is
take a
5E.
Yeah, I would just,
take a stab.
if city attorney is fine with just moving that we approve we approve the zoning text amendment 3, 2025 to revise OS4 Office Research District 12 Mile Road Corridor and off-street parking standards for multiple family residential and office uses, but with the removal of item 5E
Okay.
on page, I believe it's page 5, and we'll bring that back to a later date after further evaluation or research into that topic.
Okay.
Is that,
Is that okay?
Yeah, actually, the proposed ordinance itself is not that page 5. The actual ordinance is a different document, but if I could suggest you amend the motion to say, and check me to make sure I'm right, that section 34-3.9.5E
5E.
be removed.
okay.
Yeah.
So I amend the motion to say that section 34-3.9- or .5E be removed to a later date after further research.
And I'll support that.
Go ahead. We'll
34 point.
add in the thing about the indoor recreation for like yoga or whatever, and the potential for private school if somebody wanted
Yeah,
to do a Kumon or something like that.
Yeah, I think we were all, I think, pretty good with all of that. So I would add in also to amend my motion, the indoor recreational facilities and the private school, allowing private schools under the proposed update.
Did you want to add in that square footage limitation for indoor recreation or no?
3,500 feet,
Okay,
or 3,300 square feet, I'm sorry.
3,300?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion. Ms. Knoll, you still support?
Yes, I'll still
Discussion?
support.
Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Council members Bruce,
Yes.
Dwyer,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Aldred,
Yes.
Bulaware,
Yes.
Mayor Rich.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, just for the public's sake, this was just an introduction of the ordinance. It'll come back at either the next available meeting, in August.
Okay, thank you. Good work, team. Item 4, public hearing and consideration of planned unit development 1, 2025, Towns at Wood Creek, located at 29150 12 Mile Road. Good evening again.
good evening. Charmaine Kettler-Schmaltz, Community Development and Planning. We have before you the PUD plan, number 1 of 2025. I did want to call out that this is not a concurrent site plan, so this is a PUD plan, which is more of a conceptual drawing. You will see in the presentation from the proponent some details. There are many others yet to be worked out as to site items. This would be an application to construct 24 units of 2-story attached townhouses across 6 buildings. That would include 4 units each on the 4.55 acre property. The Planning Commission, as a way of background, qualified the property for a PUD October 17th of 2024, and then has had their standard meetings for public hearing on the PUD plan, forwarding it on as a recommendation to City Council. Tonight is the public hearing for the PUD plan. And I did want to call out that we will have a presentation from our consultant at Giffords Webster. The proponent is here also to make a presentation before the public hearing, and then council's determination on the proposal. So I'm going to turn that over to our consultant at this point.
Thank you, Charmaine. Once again, I am Joe Tangari from Giffords Webster, the city's planning consultant. Our review letter for this item was included in your packet. I will attempt to summarize rather than, read the whole thing verbatim here. So we are on a site that is currently zoned RA1A, which has a minimum lot size of 33,000 square feet. And this site is 4.55 acres. It is vacant. It's on the north side of 12 Mile, and this is about halfway between Middle Belt and Inkster. So the surrounding zoning north of 12 Mile is all RA1A. There are some single-family homes. There's also a school immediately to the west. And then south, the zoning is RA2. So there's single-family homes and a church there. They are proposing 24 units of two-story attached townhouses in 6 buildings, including 4 units each. All the units have 2-car garages, and the access street is a T-shaped road stubbed to the west side property line where the school is and toward the east side property line, but not all the way to it. As Charmaine noted, the Planning Commission did qualify this for planned unit development and approved that final PUD earlier this year. They will still have to come back to Planning Commission for final site plan approval if council grants approval to this plan. Because there are still some details to be worked out there. So a couple of other items here, I just want to kind of focus on what they're asking for in terms of exceptions from the underlying zoning district. So as I said, there's 28 units, and this parcel is 1,900, or 198,198 square feet. And density under our ordinance is determined by the number of rooms that you have. So if you have a 2-bedroom unit, you have 3 rooms, and if you have a 3-bedroom unit, you have 4 rooms. So when we look at the overall density, that's what the basis for our calculation. So they have a total of 94 rooms. And what that is in line with is our RC1 district. If they were to, they have an option for adding a room, like a loft room, in their purchase agreements. So if they were to max it out and put that extra unit everywhere, you would wind up with 112 rooms, which puts you just over into the RC2 district density. So that is one of the exceptions that they're asking for. They're asking for the density of the RC1 district or a very low RC2, a maximum of 112 rooms. The other exceptions that they're requesting is one from the lot coverage. We have a maximum 35% lot coverage in the RA1 district, and they're proposing a 37.5% lot coverage, so they're a little over. It has still since been confirmed that the building height will not exceed 30 feet, so they are not requesting an exception there. At the time this letter was written, that was unresolved. They do not have sidewalks within the development. They are proposing to put one along 12 Mile, but we did note that typically we would require sidewalks within a development. So they are requesting not to put them in the development itself. Let's see, other things that have not been confirmed. They've got a couple other things that'll be finalized at site plans, such as elevations and floor plans. And although they have provided some, which should be in your packet, and then landscaping details are also still going to be, there's a few things to still work out there, as well as lighting. But really, the focus of the PUD question is whether or not the attached single-family homes at a maximum density of 112 rooms is going to be approved, and the 37.5% lot coverage in lieu of the required 35% lot coverage, also the sidewalk issue as another thing that they're requesting. Do you have any questions for me?
Council? Okay, let's hear from the proponent.
Thank you.
All right, well, good evening, members of the City Council. It is a pleasure to see you once again. Again, Aaron Schaefer with Schaefer Development. I'm joined alongside my father, Stephen Schaefer. Alongside us are some representatives from MI Homes. We have David Straub as well as Frank Lucido. They will be the ultimate home builder for the 2-story townhouses on the property. I want to thank Charmaine and Joe for their detailed responses in regards to the room count. I will address that in greater detail in the presentation. Regarding sidewalks, I'll explain our rationale as to why we would like to request a waiver, but if push comes to shove, that is something that we can do. But to really meet the spirit of our neighbor to the west, AIM Academy, and our resident to the east, Mr. Levy, they wanted to have as much of a natural buffer as possible along the perimeter property lines. But again, we can talk about that in greater detail. In regards to lot coverage, I am prepared to address that as well during the later slides. So just to set the stage, give you an idea of where we are. So I assume everyone's familiar with the Genopolis Sheets proposal. We're just east of that, a couple of parcels down. We're actually just due east of AIM High School and due west of some of these single-family residences west of the Greencastle subdivision up there. But just to set the stage on what all of the uses are that surround this property. To the immediate west, the land uses really increase in density and intensity. You have uses in the RA1 district that include offices, schools, religious institutions, commercial, and finally, when you get closer to the hard corner, you do have the Sunoco Fuel Center. East of Middle Belt, the character changes a little bit. You have more residential uses, single-family lots, single-family subdivisions ranging between 0.3 acres to north of an acre in size. So the subject property really does serve as an ideal transition site from the school use next door, commercial uses to the west, and again, more residential uses in character to the east. One thing I want to point out, and really it's the request for the planned unit development, is the northern 1/3 of the site. You'll see it more illustrated in the site plan, but the northern 1/3 of the site has over 50 feet of fall because we bisect part of the Pebble Creek. Between the subject property, the Payne residence, the Levy residence, and where that picture is that says Wood Creek subdivision is where the Pebble Creek is situated. I have it more detailed in other slides. But there's some steep terrain, some erosion, which makes traditional zoning more difficult. There was a request in engineering that we look at some embankments to help resolve some of the Pebble Creek erosion. However, that was a point of contention in the Planning Commission meeting. The consensus was leave it natural, leave it undisturbed. So at the end of the day, if there is going to be some requirement or request to do some soil erosion mitigation along the Pebble Creek, it's very difficult for an ask like that to be done under the typical RA1A zoning. So I just want to keep that at the forefront of your minds before you come to a conclusion. Our clustered townhome layout preserves over 62.8% open space, 62.8%, which further enhances our compatibility with the surrounding land uses. In response to early staff feedback, we prioritized early outreach to surrounding HOAs and residents. Community engagement began well before our formal submittals, and some of the subdivisions and residential names you see here, we have engaged with them, shared with plans, solicited their feedback, and ultimately have received some letters of support for our development, which I will show later on in the presentation. Specifically, after one of the very first meetings we had with the Wood Creek Homeowners Association, again, one of the most powerful and vocal HOA groups in the community, we actually worked to increase the setback to our northern property line and reduce density a bit to ultimately get them to issue us a letter of support. So I don't want to bore you too much on zoning details, but the property is zoned RA1A master plan, single family residential, and our parcel is roughly 4.55 acres in size. You can see right there in blue where the Pebble Creek straddles the property along the northeast quadrant, and you can see how it meanders throughout this piece of property, the Levy property next door, and ultimately the Wood Creek subdivision to our northeast. Specifically when it comes to zoning, to the north of us, we have the Wood Creek subdivision as well as the Payne family residence. Both are zoned RA1A residential. In regards to Wood Creek, we've held multiple meetings with the HOA president, and on the following slide, you will see a letter of support which reflects our ongoing coordination and constructive dialogue with that homeowners group. In May, we were introduced to Mr. Payne, who is the resident directly to the north of us. He did request that we look into providing some type of chain link fencing along the northern property line. Right after the meeting, thankfully it's a summer day, the sun doesn't go down too late, we actually had the chance to tour his property, and he showed us exactly where he'd like to have that fence situated, so that is something that we are more than happy at exploring and putting on the site plan at a later date, but just wanted to bring that to your attention. Moving over to the west, you've got the AIM High School, which was formerly Echo Park. We've met several times with the headmaster of AIM Academy, who has expressed full support. Funny enough, he actually lives near Lansing. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it here this evening for a board meeting, but he said, you guys get this built, I'm gonna move right there so I can walk to school. So, just, a little tidbit of information. But he has relayed all this information to the school board of directors, who has expressed full support for this project. Moving over to the residences to the east, the Levy and Cole families. We've engaged in numerous conversations with both neighbors, both of whom have provided positive feedback and general support. Mr. Levy to the east said, listen, I don't want to stub to my eastern property line. You can do an easement. I want trees along my whole property line because I've got young kids and I don't want anything, bad to happen. So I know that was a comment in the engineering letter. We do provide a full secondary means of access to AIM as contemplated in the 2001 shared access agreement that was signed by the city, by the Youssef family, and by Echo Park, the prior users. But again, to the east, it was Mr. Levy's request that we keep his eastern property line, that shared eastern property line, as vegetated as possible. But again, that's something we can discuss in greater detail during Q&A. And again, I told you, Mr. Levy said, give me as much setback as you can and additional native tree plantings. You've got my support. Mr. Cole, unfortunately, was not able to make it at tonight's hearing, but he did issue a letter of support, which was furnished to the city manager's office this afternoon. I do have that letter in this presentation. It's not stamped, though, but it was a letter of support from Mr. Cole. Finally, to the south, we've got the Timbercrest and Greencastle Homeowners Associations. We have engaged with both HOA representatives. We've shared plans for their input and review. So again, we've engaged with all of the landowners on all four corners, especially the ones that abut up directly to the property lines. So sorry I didn't have this up while I was talking, but it basically just summarizes, everything I went through from the north, the west, the east, the south, all the neighbors we've engaged with. And this shows our commitment in working collaboratively with community stakeholders, as well as creating a development that does fit well with the existing neighborhoods, especially given that 63% open space figure, which couldn't be achieved under underlying zoning. This is the letter from Hank Morawski of Wood Creek. This is a little dated back in April when we did have the Planning Commission meeting, but I will read the letter. Please be advised that the Wood Creek Civic Association Board of Directors has reviewed and discussed the subject PUD proposal. Schaefer Development has provided us with up-to-date development plans for the overall Townsend Wood Creek project, including site plans, landscape plans, and renderings of the proposed building's exterior and interior layouts. Wood Creek has no objections or issues with the proposed Schaefer Development PUD proposal. Respectfully, Hank Morawski, President of the Wood Creek Homeowners Association. We've engaged with Hank Morawski for well over a year now. He has brought this to the Board of Directors' attentions. It has been discussed at many residential meetings, so the residents are aware of what's going on their Middlebelt Road frontage. Again, this is the letter from Brian and Alexis Cole. They are one of the neighbors to the east of us. To whom it may concern, please be advised that the Cole family has met with Schaefer Development on multiple occasions to review the proposed Townsend Wood Creek PUD. Throughout the process, Schaefer has maintained open communication and gone above and beyond by providing updated plans, renderings, and floor plans for our review. We have no objections to the proposed development and wish Schaefer Development the best of luck at this evening's City Council hearing. Regards, Brian Cole. So I want to discuss some of the additional staff and neighborhood outreach we've done above and beyond what I have discussed. Back in August of 2024, we had the chance to have a roundtable meeting with staff that included planning, engineering, economic development, as well as the mayor's office. It was brought to our attention that the road commission would begin construction to widen 12 Mile Road from its current state to a 3-lane cross-section. As of April 14th, 2025, this is when those activities began, and they're still ongoing. We had the opportunity to engage with AIM all throughout the process, but it really wasn't until September, after we secured approval from Planning Commission, where we started to discuss the shared access along the western property line. And it was actually discovered when we ordered title that back in 2001, there was a recorded shared access agreement between the city of Farmington Hills, Echo Park, the former school user, as well as the Youssef family, always contemplating, should the Youssef property be developed, that there be some type of secondary means of access. So God forbid anything happened to the school, God forbid anything happened in the Youssef property, there is that secondary access along the western property line. That is detailed in the site plan and landscape plan in the following slides. AIM does support a Knox box-controlled gate for emergency purposes, and the cross easement documents have been submitted to the AIM board as well as their legal department, their attorney. Again, we told them to sit tight until we had city council approval before we started memorializing these documents. But again, they're in full support for this development. This is just the flyer from Road Commission that talks about the road work being commenced. This was actually something I found when Jim Cabrera gave it to me when we were meeting with him earlier this year. But again, just for your attention. This is a copy of the Record Shared Access Agreement. I'm not going to read through all the legal jargon, but this essentially says, hey, should the use of property be developed, let's work together to have some type of shared access along our shared western property line. So again, if anything happened, God forbid, there is a secondary means of ingress and egress. You can see on the left side of the screen, that is the City of Farmington Hills signatories. On the upper right-hand corner, you can see Echo Park Learning Center, again, the former use before AIM High School, and ultimately Mike and Emily Youssef, the landowners for the property. And again, this was recorded back in 2001. So moving into the preparation of our submittal package. From a density perspective, we maintain the same density that was approved back in our October 24 PUD qualification and April-May site plan review and hearings. Keep in mind, at all of these units, we received unanimous Planning Commission approval. So again, we've got a density of 28 units along the subject property and 4 and 5 unit clusters. From a townhome design perspective, we have 2 distinct townhome footprints, which are consistent with prior approvals. The end cap units will actually feature a slightly wider 28-foot wide unit. The interior units will be 24-foot wide. That 28-foot wide unit is a more premier end cap unit, and that's going to attract more the likes of an empty nester demographic versus maybe a first-time family, unless they want the additional space. So from the notable revisions category at the bottom, from a townhome clustering perspective, because there is a 60-foot right-of-way contemplated in the right-of-way master plan, we decided from our PUD qualification back in 24 to the updated site plan review approval in 25 to reorganize the buildings in 4 and 5 unit clusters to really improve the layout and the overall site access. From a rear yard setback perspective, based on the conversations with Mr. Payne and Wood Creek to the north, Mr. Levy and Mr. Cole to the east, and AIM High School to the west, we decided to increase those setbacks for enhanced buffering. Namely, that 5-foot sidewalk encroaches into the 5-foot rear yard. We discussed that earlier during our 13-mile presentation. Again, that's not something, that is something that is open for discussion, but keep in mind that was what the wishes of the adjacent residents were to ultimately lead to the letters of support that we did receive. From a secondary access perspective, we've completed all the surveying for the secondary access to AIM High School, which you'll see in a later slide. And our open space amenity, this was something addressed in a couple of the review letters. We've actually relocated where that open space amenity is due to some ADA grading concerns. It could be kind of difficult for an individual with a wheelchair to access the open space amenity where we currently had it proposed, kind of where the basin is. But keep in mind, there's quite a bit of fall there. So we're actually looking to position it more on the eastern quadrant of the property, which you'll see in one of the later slides. But those are kind of the 4 big changes or significant changes since this was in front of Planning Commission, just to keep you apprised. You can see on the left, this is the plan that was approved back in October 2024. You can see there were some duplexes along the frontage road. We've decided to eliminate that because when we did some topographical surveying, it was then where we discovered that there was over 50 feet of fall from where that T-shaped roadway is, where the driveways start to the northern property line. So there were concerns in the letters that called out potentially for a cul-de-sac, that potentially called out for again, looking at that. But again, we've got that secondary access to AIM. We've got the stub to the east. We believe that meets the spirit of it and intent. And we did discuss this with the engineering department, and they did not have concerns with that when we met with them earlier this summer. But just to talk about some of the changes that you're seeing here. The northern setback was originally proposed at about 160 feet. We're now showing between a 217-foot to 221-foot setback from the back of those northernmost units to the northern property line. Again, with the grading and topography, we decided to cluster the units, again, that position more east-west versus north-south to 5-unit clusters to, again, kind of push that in. And that's really how we got that close to 63% open space as a result of these clustering efforts. You can see the setbacks along the east and west were increased a little bit. due to some site efficiencies, but really the only change that you're seeing, again, from the qualification plan back to 24 versus now, is really those units that abut up to the primary road, where we've got between a 35 and 36-foot setback from the new 60-foot right-of-way line, not the existing road, the new right-of-way, because we have to give up 60 foot of the property frontage to comply with the right-of-way master plan. Okay, so this is the landscape plan where it is a little more detailed. I'd like to see if, I don't know if I can zoom in, but you can see the shared access to AIM High School with the Knox box right here. You can see our little open space pocket park amenity right here, which is just, pretend this is north of Building 5. Pretend this is east of this T roadway right here. We're looking to do a nice bench overlook so that people can enjoy some of the topography, especially when the fall colors come into bloom. You'll be able to see part of the Pebble Creek. So we thought that was an ideal position for that. Originally, we were considering putting some type of amenity here behind these two buildings, buildings 3 and 4. But again, there's a 5-on-1, 6-on-1 slope differential. And again, if you're in a wheelchair, that's something that's very difficult. So we thought it'd be prettier to put it there, but again, just to meet site accessibility criteria, we decided to relocate it there, kind of more in the northern quadrant of the property. And again, when you look at the landscaping, we put quite a bit of landscaping along our eastern property line to Mr. Levy at his request. Again, we had the road stop short, and we're more than happy to provide language for an easement. So should that property be developed in the future, there is an opportunity to connect. But again, to meet, Mr. Levy's request, we wanted to stop that short and landscape the heck out of the property line. Additionally, to AIM, you can see there's quite a significant amount of landscaping along our western property line, and we really have some nice landscaping along 12 Mile Road and that existing sidewalk that does remain there because that is in compliant with the new right-of-way dedication. So moving into the Giffords-Webster review letter, I'm just going to paraphrase real quickly, but we did meet 4 PUD qualification criteria that, again, was unanimously approved by Planning Commission at all of our sessions. The proposed plan permanently dedicates the northern portion of the site as open space and stormwater detention, creating a lasting buffer between the development and single-family homes to the north. Additional permanent open space along the eastern edge and the site's transitional role between residential and school uses further demonstrate thoughtful integration. And finally, these features contribute to the public good by enhancing buffers, preserving natural space, and addressing stormwater needs that couldn't otherwise be completed under traditional residential zoning. So moving into the Giffords-Webster review letter, there were some items highlighted in green that required some further clarification. So I want to address each and every one of those items because I've read that letter more times than I can count. From a density perspective, this was addressed back in May, but our room count ranges between 96 units on the low end and 112 units on the high end. The reason for that delta is that the larger 28-foot wide end cap units will feature a standard 3-bedroom floor plan. All of the interior 24-foot wide units will feature a standard 2-bedroom floor plan with a home office den. There is an opportunity to bump up that 2-bedroom into a 3-bedroom. Based on all of the national sales data collected by MI Homes all across the country, roughly 50% plus or minus who have that 2-bedroom opt for the 3-bedroom. So what Joe was trying to get at in his review letter is if all of these units had 3 bedrooms, we would be at 112 rooms, which is 8 units above the RC1 maximum. However, given the national sales data, which shows that 50% of the 2 bedrooms opt for the 3-bedroom alternative, the more premium floor plan, we'd be in line with the RC1 density. So if you have any additional questions on that, more than happy to address that during the Q&A. But again, the only way we would be above the RC1 maximum is if every single resident opted for a 3-bedroom, which the sales data shows is not the case. Regarding dimensional standards, we do have lot coverage of 37.5%, but I really want, it's 2.5% over the underlying zoning. I really want you to focus on the open space. Almost 63% as a result of this clustering. From a building height perspective, we are 26 feet 6 inches, which is below the 30-foot maximum. From a circulation perspective, I did address this briefly earlier. There are no sidewalks within the development. They were omitted to preserve larger setbacks and open space buffers to our adjacent neighbors. However, we do have that 12-mile right-of-way sidewalk and would welcome discussion on this topic during Q&A. Moving over to waste management, again, this was addressed in May. We are doing curbside waste, and the updated site plan submittal I have has notes based on all the items Giffords-Webster requested: waste management, lighting, landscaping, and screening. All those have been added to the new submittal, which we have yet to submit. We wanted to submit it before the 4th of July, but given the holidays, staff said, listen, we're not going to get review letters in time. Just go through with the city council meeting. You can submit the plans after. From a lighting perspective, this was confirmed back in May, but we will have a photo cell lighting fixture next to the garage that will be dawn to dusk. So from a lighting spillover effect, it's not a light switch that's going to remain on 24/7. It'll go on once it gets dark, and once the sun starts to rise, it'll turn off automatically. On the new submittal, we have addressed a comment for that. Regarding elevations and floor plans, we did provide them at the May Planning Commission hearing, and they are shown again on the following slides. From a landscaping and screening perspective, as I told you, due to the ADA and grading concerns, that overlook amenity near the basin wasn't possible, so we decided to move it behind Building 5, south of that eastern road stub, because that does not create any accessibility conflicts. This is from the engineering department review letter. I'm getting there, guys. There was discussions for a permanent road stub to the east, and I think that might have been something that was overlooked in the engineering review letter. But again, we do provide that to the west, we provide the stub to Ames High School. To the east, at the request of Mr. Levy, we decided not to do that. A T-shaped turnaround proposed in lieu of a cul-de-sac creates significant topographical constraints on the northern third of the site, with over 47 feet of grade fall from the northernmost driveways to the northern property line. A standard 50-foot radius cul-de-sac is impractical to construct. But again, with that connection to the west via Knoxbox, again, 2001 easement recorded it, we believe we meet the spirit and intent of that request. In regards to the traffic study, it was submitted well in advance before the engineering department review letter. I'm not sure where the discrepancy was. We did drop off the study well in advance of the review letter, as well as all applicable review fees. At the end of the day, the study said with all of the improvements going along the roadway with Road Commission for Oakland County, there was no additional improvements warranted for our project. There was one item in the fire department review letter: the proponent shall consider a 50-foot turning radius cul-de-sac at the dead end or cross emergency access to the adjoining parcel. Again, with all of that fall it proves challenging. And again, there was always this 2001 agreement that always showcased, hey, Yusuf property, Echo Park property, now Ames High School property. Once that parcel does get developed, let's put this connection in place. Now, I want to show you some of the unique constraints on the property. Again, the northeast quadrant of the site, the Pebble Creek. This is what the Pebble Creek currently looks like. These pictures were taken roughly 2 months ago. You can see that there's quite a bit of debris, as well as a beaver dam on our portion of the Pebble Creek, as well as some stabilization that was done a number of years ago. Although engineering says that further examination should be warranted on providing some stability to those embankments, it was an item of hot topic in the Planning Commission meeting where they said, guys, leave this undisturbed. Don't make any changes here. So we're really, heeding to your guidance on what you would envision seeing there. But you can see, the creek does make quite a bit of a turn through the property. You can kind of get an understanding of where the creek does a kind of a 180 on the property and some of the debris that's existing there, but it really is a serene, pretty area that we'd like to remain in its undisturbed state so that residents, who have the ability, can walk down there and enjoy that as a nice amenity. This is one of the renderings of the proposed townhouse product. You can see the larger 28-foot wide units on the end, the standard 24-foot wide unit in the middle. I did showcase these beforehand, but you can see that they are very open, modern floor plans, more contemporary in nature, meeting the likes of today's target market, who doesn't want walls in every room. These are the floor plans. I won't, spend too much time on them, but the first floor is more of your dining and entertainment with a restroom, garage, and, washer, dryer, laundry room. And then you can see on the second floor is where more of the residential, occupants are housed. Again, no difference here. This just showcases a 5-plex townhouse. So with that, I want to thank you for the time this evening, and we'll open the floor up to any questions or comments you may have. Thank you so much.
All right, council, what questions do we have?
I do.
Please.
The purpose of tonight's meeting, I'd like to have a clarification. Is it to just approve the application for the PUD? I'm not, yes, is this for, just to get the process started? Where are we? I saw there was something approved in October, and now there's been some changes and it's come back to us. Or, no, it's never been to us before.
This is your
Yeah.
brand-new
Yes.
view. This is for the review and possible approval of a PUD plan.
Okay.
Next steps would be moving forward, either going to a PUD agreement, or
Okay.
if they chose to come back, would be with a site plan that would go to Planning Commission.
All right, okay, well, thanks for that clarification. And the other comment that I have is, there are two subdivisions to the south, that it's Greencastle and Timbercrest. And you mentioned that you had gotten approval from the HOA, that the plan was acceptable, and that you had reached out to both, or discussed with both Greencastle and Timbercrest. Have you received from any of those subdivisions a letter of approval, questions, or,
So what we did is we just submitted them a site plan and a landscape plan.
all right,
Oh, I'm sorry. What we did with both of those associations to the south, Greencastle and Timbercrest, is we did share the materials with the collective HOA presidents of both groups. I spoke with them personally. I furnished them with plans. I said, listen, here are the plans. We're going through the approval process. Should you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Some of them did mention that they were going to share it at their upcoming board meetings. But again, we didn't want to start re-engaging them until we knew we had some type of surety with city council.
all right. Do you know when those discussions took place that you reached out?
It
to
was
both
in the spring and summertime respectively.
okay.
Yes,
thank you.
there haven't been many major changes based on
Okay,
what we presented
all right.
them. I mean, the design's essentially the same. They don't care about a couple feet here or there. But we have shared with them, and I do have responses that they're in possession of the plans. But again, we wanted to confirm. We didn't want to have an issue like 13 Mile where we did this concurrently.
Yeah.
We wanted to do the PUD and then the site plan separately to confirm that, you know, before we start spending 6 figures plus, that we had some type of consensus from the elected officials with council.
All right. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other council member questions, comments? Mr. Aldred?
Thank you. Yeah, I think my comment here is regards the overall layout. I think it's absolutely the right thing to maximize that setback to the resident, to the, what is actually to the east. Yeah. Levi was the
Levy?
levy? Yeah. That was my, looking at the, I walked the property, had a look, and certainly that would be my concern, making sure that, again, that that buffer of trees and that buffer is retained in that. So in this particular case, you know, again, I understand why you've removed the sidewalks in order to maximize that. I would certainly be wanting to make sure that we retain all of those trees along that buffer and maximize that.
No, it'd be our intention to preserve whatever is existing and only improve upon it.
Thank you. Obviously, the land at the northern third is deeply sloping down onto Pebble Creek. I have a question. How does that construction work with those buildings 3 and 4? How does that work?
Those will all feature walkout basements, which will be a nice premium addition to help, you know, naturally fall with the grade. So all of the units east-west, it appears north-south in front of you, will be slab on grade. And then those 2 buildings 3 and 4, will have walkouts to, again, manage the grade.
Right. And lastly, you said 68.8% open space. But as we can see from this diagram, you can see a lot of that open space at the back is now taken up with a detention basin, correct, in that? So that, again, you must be digging out the land there in order to get it. So that must be quite a large excavation you're putting into that land in order to put that.
Yeah, they'll have to be some type of retaining wall structures. But again, we've designed it in a way to fall with the natural grade, because the grade wants to go more toward the Pebble Creek, go northeast. So we designed it more in that 45-degree angle fashion to really take advantage of the grade versus, you know, disturb the land even further.
Right, and I appreciate the aim of the pocket park there to the north. It seems I'm questioning the actual value of that, but I appreciate the intent of that park at that location.
We looked at doing it along 12 Mile, but, came to the conclusion that we wanted it to be a little more private and for the residents versus along the roadway, because I know there were some comments when we were talking about 13 Mile. If you have an amenity like that along the frontage, it may create some, conflicts. So we wanted to kind of hide it and have it more nestled into the community. But again, with the topography we're dealing with here, with the size and shape of the parcel, we were fairly limited as to where that could be located.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for answering the questions.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Ms. Knoll?
Overall, I can definitely understand why you did the layout that you did. I think the most important thing on this site, it is a small site, 28 units. I think the most important thing is to preserve the green space to the north, because of course you do have Pebble Creek, you do have the woods there, you do have the ravine there. It's the prettiest part of the site, but also just with the creek running through there, obviously you don't want to, get too close to that and disturb that. So I do appreciate that that is the portion that you preserved. That's the majority of your open space. And I do think you have a significant amount of open space with 62.8%. So, overall, I think you've worked with the land to get the best layout here for the townhouses, the condos, townhouses.
Thank you. This is a really special piece of property. I walked back there and it felt like I was 4 hours up north. With the fall, the trees, with the creek there, it's really something special. So we're very thoughtful with this design. Again, the underlying RA1A zoning really makes it infeasible to utilize this site to the fullest extent, and again, capture all of your stormwater management based on, the modern day Oakland County stormwater standards. So, we really appreciate your thoughts and feedback.
And I'll add, I'm supportive of not putting sidewalks in here. Again, just because I think it's more important to preserve the open space closer to the north end. So if not putting sidewalks in is allowing you to preserve more open space, I'm supportive of that. And the pocket park, it's basically just a few benches, right? It's just-
Yeah,
okay.
it's a nice amenity with some native landscape plantings,
Yeah,
2 benches to really take advantage
That's
of,
sufficient.
the Pebble
I don't-
Creek, yeah.
Again, it's not a large development. I don't
Yeah.
think you need a large park. I'd rather just preserve the natural features. So,
Understood.
So I'm supportive of that too.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Dwyer?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, you did an excellent job. Very comprehensive presentation. You hit all bases as far as the neighbors, everything. You explained it very well. You're going to have my total support on the project. I think it's great. I think it's great for the community, and I think it fits right in that particular area. So great job.
Thank you. You're going to make my father smile. I don't think I've seen him smile today, so.
Anyone else? Okay, I have a couple of questions, and then we'll open the public hearing. In terms of the townhouses, will any of them be handicap accessible, ADA accessible?
So these units are designed with the bedrooms on the second floor. We really did look into that. MI does have a product that is a ranch townhouse, but again, it's about 10 to 15 feet deeper.
Right.
It creates conflicts, it creates more encroachment into the, sensitive areas to the east, the west, and the north. So it was our collective decision to continue with a more conventional style townhouse, again, to really preserve and take the fullest extent of the natural foliage on the property.
Okay, thank you. And you said that the traffic study had been received. What does it tell us? Because I know 12 Mile is an opportunity area for us. And there's a lot that goes on in that area between Middle Belt and Inkster. So what did we learn?
The study concluded that given 12 Mile was being widened to a 3-lane with that dedicated left-hand turn lane extending all the way from our property to 12 Mile and Middle Belt, that no additional changes were warranted. This was sent to engineering on the 5th. We did get confirmation that it was reviewed. All the consultants reviewed it. But again, it suggested that with the new road improvements that Road Commission is implementing, no further changes are warranted on our approach or A-cell and D-cell lanes. If that's something that is an item of of discussion. We can absolutely revisit it with engineering. That's not something that we are against. But at the end of the day, the study did say with those new improvements, no changes are necessary.
Okay, well, we'd still like the levies to be able to get in and out of their property.
Hmm?
And I'm looking at the, it's our page 139, but it's in the, it looks like the first page of the PUD review that shows us the properties. Here, I don't know if you can see this, Mr.
Yeah, here, I'll pop it up right here.
So, yep, right there. Okay, so I'm trying to understand if we were to juxtapose the, what's going to be built here, I'm trying to understand where that road with the stub is going to be in relation to the levy residence, as well as where's that pocket park going to be in relation to the levy residence?
So if you see my mouse where the parking lot ends and there's kind of this bump out right here.
Yep.
Our connection is going to be a little short of that. So about right here. So kind of visualize if I had a line, kind of like right where the end of this line is here to give you an idea.
So basically,
the
that stump road ends in their backyard, next, adjacent to their backyard.
Yeah, I want to see if I have a better picture. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see because it didn't
Right.
pick up the house next
Right.
door. But that gives you, you can see kind of right here where the parking lot ends, where that jog comes out, and then if you could visualize, and we'll kind of go back to the aerial, you can see that is going to situate.
Yes.
You know, again, I don't have a perfect exhibit, but you can see if the road's like right here, it's like kind of on this, we'll call it the property line where the residence is, and kind of this landlocked parcel, we kind of straddle right there.
Who owns that landlocked parcel?
Mr. Levy owns both these properties.
And then in terms of, so go back to where the rendering was, please, where we just were. You keep
I
going.
mean, of all the adjacent uses?
No, the drawing of the.
The landscape plan?
The landscape plan, yep.
Okay.
That one, I bet that one's fine. Okay.
This is a little bigger, so it's a little
All
easier to see.
right, so as we look at this, we've just figured out that the stub, right, is pretty much right there at the levee's backyard.
Yeah.
And then the pocket park, which goes even further close to their home and their property line. Well, it's just a few benches, I understand it's just a few benches, but my understanding, and I know Mr. Levy's here to talk during the hearing, but then his ask for as much vegetation and blockage with trees, that kind of goes away because the pocket park's right there.
No, I understand that, and that was a similar thought process we did have, and we can look at relocating it. Again, our original intention was between buildings 3 and 4, where this 10-foot wide maintenance pathway is, to somehow position it there. I mean, again, it creates an ADA conflict. I don't, you know, we want to have an amenity that is available to all, but understanding that the two, you know, the bedrooms are on the second floor, that kind of, you know, is a bit of a moot point. So we can definitely re-explore placing it there. I mean, I think that would be the greatest way to take advantage of that open space amenity, is to have it somewhere along this pathway so that you can really get some pretty views of the basin. That would require some additional fencing around the basin for safety, should there be children. So we can look at it a little more, whether we end up ultimately positioning this, you know, somewhere along the 12-mile frontage, if we can figure out a way to maybe sneak it in here next to AIM, because I understand you wholeheartedly. And, you know, there is a pretty residence to the east, and we want to do our best to, you know, honor the spirit and intent of the neighbor's request. So that's not something that's necessarily set in stone. We thought that was the most logical place because we have, you know, one of the larger setbacks there from a rear yard perspective, because we wanted to be sensitive and not have this in the back of someone's residential unit in their patio. So we can explore that a little further. We're not locked into that specific position. You know, I'm glad this is something that we've talked about, because the more I think about it, I don't know if that's necessarily the most appropriate place to put that.
No. Okay, all right, I think that's it for my questions. Anybody else? All right, in that case, we are going to open the public hearing. Any member of the public, Mr. Levy, who would like to speak are welcome to come forward at this time. And you have 3 minutes, sir.
3 minutes? All right. I never did this before, so
Welcome.
thank you, thank you. I apologize for missing the first one. I got the notice like a month in my mail, a month after the hearing was, but yeah, this project concerns me a bit. I think Mr. Schaefer reached out. That's you? We never met in person. Reached out, gave me some information about the project that was coming up. But it looks a little bit more stressful as a parent than I originally envisioned. 4, 5, 6 townhouses is not as stressful, but there's 4 units in each one, I believe. Is that correct?
5 and 4.
So that's like 24 new neighbors I'm gonna have. And there's trees there, the vegetation is important. For me, I'm very mindful of the earth and the planet and the carbon sequestration that we need in our lives right now. I feel like that's a part of the spirit of Farmington Hills. But I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. And before there was a property here, before there was anything on this land, for years I've had people wandering onto my property, wandering around in the woods, maybe curious about the land, maybe curious what's behind the trees. We're kind of off the road. There's some woods protecting us from, I don't know. Feels like a little private little retreat for us to raise our kids, our 2-year-old, our 6-year-old, and it's been peaceful, but it's scary at times. There's been times at night where people have wandered onto the yard, wandered through the trees, just doing whatever. It hasn't been anything serious to my concern, but it's serious to me as a father. I react to it the same as anybody I think would if your 2 kids are outside and you see somebody in the bushes, you come outside and you're a little bit more alert. Maybe if you have some legal protection on you, maybe you have that on you just for safety, because it's have two little girls. And the trees, for this amount of people, to me, isn't enough. I feel it would be more secure in my mind, trying to continue to grow my family and nourish my family, if there was something else that could feel like that wasn't being infringed upon in a way. And yeah, we talked about tree line, but measuring that out, 60 feet of trees is kind of, people can easily curiously wander on about that, especially if it's neatly groomed this way. I missed what actually that was, the Pebble Road, Pebble Creek. There's like Mayor Rich, you mentioned, this is like a pathway going into our backyard, correct? Like where cars will be coming and going, or parking, or what is it? Okay, what is this thing going back into the road here? Just like I can't point to the. That's my 3 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. So this little piece that will be going off into the property there.
That's the stub road, and it was requested by engineering that we bring it all the way to the eastern property line, and based on the conversations you had with my father, we wanted to stop short of that.
A stub road. What is a stub road?
Basically, if you live in any of these 4 units here, you got to be able to get in the driveway.
So there will be cars back there.
There will be cars driving here to ultimately get into their respective driveways
there's
and
cars
garages.
back there.
But they're not going to be, stationary there all the time.
But they'll be moving. A stationary car is safer to me than a moving car.
Well, yeah, they'll be moving because these residents need a way to traverse.
So I think Mr. Levy has additional questions, I think, that should be answered. I know that the 3 minutes has ended, so perhaps you can, you or Mr. Schaefer, one of you can spend some time in the hall with Mr. Levy to make sure that his issues and concerns are addressed, because I can be pretty sure that when a PUD contract eventually comes to us, we are going to want to make sure that his concerns are handled. So I am bound at the 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
get it.
Is there anyone else who wanted to speak at the public hearing? Okay, I'm going to call the public hearing closed. Take it back to council, Ms. Knoll.
Fencing.
Yes, there we go.
What kind of fencing is going? That could settle out, that could
So
help.
again, the northern property line, we did meet with Mr. Payne in person. We did discuss doing fencing along the northern property line. That is absolutely something that we can do along the eastern property line. We've only had phone conversations with
Well, that
Mr.
way no
Levy,
one
so
can
now that he's
wander.
here, we can have a face-to-face conversation and
Yeah,
discuss
I
these
mean,
items in detail.
right now, the property's vacant,
Yeah.
so people coming down the street may say, hey, it's a vacant woods, I'm gonna wander in and check it out and walk around it. But if there's townhouses built there, they will know it's not a vacant woods.
Yeah.
They won't even really see it from the street, the woods, because they'll see the homes and know it's a private residence. But as far as the people that live there, to keep them from wandering east or west or north, a fence could solve that problem.
No, I understand.
Plus the trees, of course, the trees.
And you know,
but the
you know
fence.
our position, the more natural plantings we can do in lieu of an ugly fence, the better. But if that's, push comes to shove, we're more than happy to investigate it. It's not a problem, but
And I guess that would be something to discuss with Mr. Levy, if
Absolutely.
that's something he wants or not.
you know how over-communicative we are, and I am. You know, I'll make sure that we, you know, have the right dialogue and we're all on the same page.
All right, council, yes.
Yeah, if I could at this point, council, not sure if you're going to be making a motion to approve this evening, but I've heard a few things through the course of the presentation and the discussion, the questions that have been asked before the public hearing and now after the public hearing. And I've identified a few things that when it comes to drafting up and putting together, if you do approve it, the next step, like was mentioned by Charmaine, was preparing a PUD contract. And some items discussed tonight are not in the Planning Commission discussion, or they might be a little different than what was in the Planning Commission discussion. I identified 3 things, there might be more. If you're going to proceed with a motion to approve this PUD plan, there is a suggested motion to help you make that motion in your packet as usual. It has a space for additional conditions, and I'd encourage you to add any additional conditions that you have. The 3 that I noted that I think would be helpful to have in there, starting with the last one first, would be to include an indication that the developer provide additional buffering or fencing along the eastern property line as part of the site plan approval process. As mentioned, this has to go back to site plan, so we have that as a tool that we can use for these items. Second, repositioning the pocket park away from the eastern property, again, during the site plan review process. And third is not one that was discussed by council, but it was raised by Mr. Schaefer and identified as an issue from the engineering and fire department plan reviews, which related to the cul-de-sac. We don't know from the fire department or the engineering department exactly what their reasons were for that cul-de-sac. It could be fire truck turnarounds, and the T might have resolved it. We just don't know at this point. So I'd suggest to make sure we as staff have the proper guidance that you include a condition that the cul-de-sac required as part of the site plan, unless that requirement is determined to be not necessary by the fire department and engineering department.
Is there not also a 4th one about traffic? And the 12-mile road traffic to do an evaluation whether there would be a need for an access area or something else, but to make sure that traffic is sufficiently calmed in that area. As Councilmember Bolaware mentioned, there are 2 additional subdivisions right there that have already voiced concerns in other situations about ingress and egress to their subdivisions. So I think that the traffic study needs to comprehend that as well, if council would want that in the motion. Anything else that you all heard?
Gary's got a point.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things too that are not shown on the plans, but were recommendations of the engineering department. And I know, you know, the resolution states in here, item 2, any conditions and requirements stated in reviews in the reviews of the city engineer and the city fire marshal shall be complied with or addressed to the satisfaction of the city engineer and the fire marshal. So just a couple of things. I know we had a lot of discussions about the property to the east, Mr. Levy's property. One of the recommendations was to extend the road all the way to the east property line. I agree with the way that it's configured now, but just for council's edification, there should be some sort of an easement to enable the extension of the private road to that east property line in the future, as well as public utilities in the future. And that gives Mr. Levy the ultimate flexibility if he decides to sell both private parcels, lock, stock, and barrel, and move out and sell it to a developer, we can redevelop it, or develop the north half of the property and on its own. But I think that's very important for council to understand that as well. So, thank you.
All right, anything else that should be in a hypothetical motion that hasn't been made yet? All right, is it council's pleasure to do a motion this evening?
I have a question about that cul-de-sac, because I don't quite understand where they think they want to call, like, I thought the fire department was good with this as long as the road is connected to the AIM school. That was what I thought. So where are you suggesting there needs to be a cul-de-sac? Because this will be connected to the AIM school to give the fire department access in case of an emergency. So Gary, what are you referring to?
Well, I'm just reading the June 9th memo from Fire Marshal Beloga, and it says, the proponent shall consider a 50-foot turning radius cul-de-sac at the dead end and/or cross-access emergency access to adjoining parcel. So I think that's one of the things that needs to be clarified
Why do you
during
need
engineering.
a cul-de-sac if you're actually putting in a road which connects to the AIM school with a gate, with a lockbox? You don't, I'm not sure why you would ever use the cul-de-sac. You would just simply open the gate and drive through if you don't want to turn around.
The assistant city manager and I are putting our best civil engineering heads together, and we believe that their comments are regarding the east property line, the east hammerhead there.
Well, but we said we would address that through an easement instead. So in the future, if Mr. Levy were to sell his property to a developer, he wants to move out and says you can develop it, then that would get connected.
That's correct.
And so you're saying you also, see, the problem with a cul-de-sac is you're gonna put in a lot more concrete, which means you're gonna reduce the buffer to the east. And you're also, the cul-de-sac is also going to reduce the green space a little bit to the north and south, because that road has to be wider if you're wanting a cul-de-sac, depending where you put it. I mean, it's, no matter what, you're really reducing a lot of buffer and trees by putting a cul-de-sac there to the east.
Challenging, no doubt.
For basically, a few homes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, thank you. Yeah, just to pick up on that point, Mr. City Manager, as I'm reading what the fire marshal said is the proponent shall consider a 50-foot turning radius cul-de-sac at the dead end and/or a cross-access, emergency access to an adjoining parcel. So is he not saying that the adjoining to the adjoining parcel is sufficient?
I think that's why we need to go to final review. And so, Steve.
Yeah, and the cul-de-sac is also mentioned in the engineering report.
It is.
It's in both reports, and what we're saying is
we need to clarify that.
We want to make sure that it gets clarified for the PUD contract coming back to you. It'll either be in or out, but we don't know if the fire department, it says and/or, the and is there.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a little, we need to be clear on that and bring that back to you. And because, again, Mr. Schaefer contests the need for it, and that's fine, but we don't have a decision on it, don't know how to draft the PUD contract without some sort of clarity. At least if you include that in the motion, we can take that back and say, hey, Fire Marshal Beloga, is this really necessary, given what they've done and what City Council has considered? Same with engineering.
Well, the problem is if he says, yes, it's necessary to the east, then then and if the council agrees that it's necessary, it's ultimately our decision, then I can't support this as is, because it's gonna take way too much buffer away. I can't, so then something's gotta change. Either the cul-de-sac isn't there, or the layout changes.
Madam Mayor, one other idea, you could always include a condition that the cul-de-sac not be included, but you don't have the input to know for sure what the reasons are.
No, I'm just trying to figure out the language here.
As long as we're, have something to go on what to do in the future, that'd be appreciated as part of this.
So I totally hear you about the cul-de-sac kills it,
Yeah,
right?
it kills it.
Yeah.
If you have to put a cul-de-sac in there.
Right.
There's just not room.
Because part of the charm of this proposed development is the 62.8% open space.
Right.
Right? And paving it over doesn't do that. So yeah, I'm struggling too.
Yeah,
in
I don't want a
terms of-
sea of concrete there.
No, no. I agree with you, though, that the easement needs to be there.
Yeah.
For flexibility for the city, as well as Mr. Levy at some future date, perhaps. But, yeah,
Mayor,
yeah.
there may be additional options, at least as far as fire protection, that we're not aware of because it's not our expertise.
This is true.
There may be some additional options that the fire marshal didn't illustrate within the report.
Okay, so then, Counselor, how would we phrase a motion?
On the cul-de-sac issue?
Yep.
That the.
Because Mr. Aldred's reading
Right.
could very well be that it's already handled with the east next box access.
We just need to get that clarified.
Right.
I mean, I was suggesting wording this as the cul-de-sac is only required if it is determined necessary by the fire department and engineering department.
But then if the cul-de-sac is required,
Yep,
I don't know that we can count to 4 votes here tonight.
understood.
What if it's,
If I could clarify?
Please?
I don't have the prior submittal in front of me right away, but I do recall, because, we had to wait to get approval from the Board of Directors from AIM to set foot on their property and do surveying. This plan was done about 5 days after that Planning Commission hearing, where we got the approval, we did the surveying work, which you're seeing that ultimate access. It was shown on prior plans, but it wasn't grayed out. So where the western property line is, it kind of had hash marks. And I think what happened here, because I brought it up to Jerry and Charmaine and said, hey, can you please reach out to them and confirm that they have the right set of plans in front of them, because I furnished them with this as soon as we got it. I think they may have just been looking at the older set that didn't have it grayed out onto the AIM property, because again, we didn't get the authorization to survey the property. So I don't know if that helps bring some point of clarification, but this illustrates it clear as day. So what the fire department and engineering department were looking at, I don't have visibility into that.
Can we do, Counselor, can we do a motion that approves, but with a conditional, if the fire marshal deems that a cul-de-sac is required, this goes back to council because it is no longer approved? And how would we phrase that, sir?
Yes, I think that would include the engineering department in there as well.
Okay.
fire and engineering?
No.
Okay,
Then it comes back. That
And
makes
then
sense.
it comes back.
I'll take a stab at it.
Be my guest.
Oh, boy, okay. Okay, so I will make a motion here that the application for PUD 1, 2025, dated February 28, 2025, revised May 27, 2025, submitted by Stephen Schaefer, is approved subject to the following conditions. Any conditions and requirements of the Planning Commission's May 15, 2025 motion recommending approval of the PUD plan and Giffel-Webster's most recent review shall be complied with or addressed to the satisfaction of the Planning Community Development Department. 2, any condition and requirements stated in the reviews of the city engineer and city fire marshal shall be complied with or addressed to the satisfaction of the city engineer and fire marshal. And 3, and I'm going to here list the items that have been discussed. That the proponent discuss the possibility of a fence on the eastern property line next to Mr. Levy's property and satisfactory decision be made about the fence or that satisfies Mr. Levy, whether he wants a fence or not.
Okay.
So the decision is up to Mr. Levy, whether he wants a fence or not.
Okay.
2, that the pocket park not be on the eastern property line next to Mr. Levy's property. 3, that an easement be placed next to the stub road extending to the eastern property line for utilities and road in case in the future Mr. Levy decides to develop his property.
Or we need to, that needs to be used for utilities from
No,
here.
that's, yeah, okay, well, the utility easement, I said utilities too, so the utility easement is in here, road and utility. Okay. Next one, dealing with traffic and engineering. That the proponent meet with the engineering department and review the traffic report and accommodate any of the engineering department's recommendation regarding traffic, whether any sort of ingress egress lane is needed, or sorry, not ingress egress, decel lane is needed.
Okay.
The conversation has to take place.
Understood.
And finally, that the proponent meet with fire and engineering regarding the fire department and engineering's letter advising that they'd like a cul-de-sac to better understand where they were referencing the need for a cul-de-sac. And if they want the cul-de-sac to be placed at the end of the stub road on the eastern side of the property, that at that point, this PUD is negated and has to come back to council for further potential revisions.
Understood. That's everything I wrote down.
Oh,
Did I get it all?
good job. Yes, okay.
Support.
We have motion and support.
May not be the smoothest, but I think I got everything in there.
All right,
I'll
discussion.
go grab the bourbon from the trunk.
No. Discussion, anyone? Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Council members Bruce,
Yes.
Dwyer,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Aldred,
Yes.
Fullaware,
Yes.
Mayor Rich.
Yes, really good work, team. Schaefer's, thank you. Mr. Levy, this added so much. Thank you for being here. So, great. That takes us to item 5, new business, consideration of approval of appointments to the Beautification Committee.
Thank you very much, everybody.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
I can make a motion?
Please.
Madam Mayor, thank you, yes. I move to approve the recommended appointments to the Beautification Committee. We have James D. Geisling, length of term 3 years, term ending February 1st, 2028, and Frank A. Romano, 3 years, February 1st, 2028.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
We have motion and support. Discussion? Okay, this is a regular vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Hey, folks, could you shut the door, please? Excuse us. Thank you. Can't hear ourselves. All righty, that then takes us to public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. We will recall that this is your comment to us. It is not an exchange back and forth. And the first to come forward is Edward Buati. Is he still here?
I believe he left.
Okay, next up, PG. To be followed by Michelle Austin. Good evening.
Good evening to the council, to the people in the audience, and to the people watching the media at home. We're having another community forum. It's going to be Wednesday, July 23rd, in the city of Southfield, from 5:30 to 8:30 at the Southfield Pavilion located at 26,000 Evergreen Road. This forum, we're going to be talking about the dangers of synthetic drugs. We're going to show you how to properly administer Narcan, and we're going to be talking about human trafficking. Now, I know that we have a lot of kids that like to hang out, and they like to go to places, and sometimes they're not always as nice as they should be, and they cause problems. You need to be at this forum, and you need to be at this forum so you can stay out of trouble, stay out of harm's way, and learn something about this dangerous drug and what it's doing to our community. You need to know the signs of how people groom children to start with the human trafficking. These are things that are just tearing up our United States community and even our world community. So I'm going to ask that you come and support this event. We got enough community donations to put this flyer in 5 different publications: the Southfield Sun, the Farmington Press, the Woodward Talk, the Royal Oak Review, and the Eagle. We also got enough donations to have a kosher spread, because we have kosher guests that can't eat regular food. So we had people in the community that paid for this. We're going to have a separate table for our law enforcement executives, and then a separate table of food for our guests. So come, be prepared to learn something, ask questions, and get to know your law enforcement executives in your community. This is going to be featuring Southfield Police Chief Alvin Barron, Public Safety Director Steve Cooper, Farmington Hills Police Chief John Pidgett, and Under Sheriff of Oakland County, Timothy Willis. The featured guest speaker is going to be the Colonel from the Michigan State Police Department, Colonel Grady, and our officer in the city of Southfield, Officer Cece. She's going to be doing the presentation about human trafficking. And we've got a nonprofit organization, Fathers Against Fentanyl, that's going to have a table. This is a group that was composed by fathers who had lost a child to fentanyl. That's where they got the name Fathers of Fentanyl. So really, people need to understand how dangerous these drugs are and what they do to your body. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with your event. Next up, Michelle Austin, to be followed by Edwin Metischewitz.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Rich and City Council and those at home. My name is Michelle Austin, and I am the founder and president of the Oakland County Foster Closet. I was actually on Fox 2 News this morning, so make sure to check that out. You can find it on our website as well. If you go and check us out, we're at ocfostercloset.org. We're a nonprofit, literally right here in our backyard, right in Farmington Hills. We take care of all of the basic essentials that children use. So for example, that is kids in foster care, adoption, guardianship. We also help out low income. That's something that has become greater in our community. And we're helping those absolutely for free. So it's so important that we're making sure that people know about us. We are starting our capital campaign as of July 1st, looking to move into a larger facility. We're currently in 4,000 square feet, and if you can imagine that, because it started in my house. So it's a big deal. We're looking to move into a 12,000 to 15,000 square foot building so that we can be more efficient, we could be more effective, we could have more of our programming so that we can take care of our kids. Instead of expanding our mission, we're gonna make it deeper, right? We're gonna make sure that maybe our special needs kids can get the items that they need, the sensory items, the adaptive equipment. We also have our birthday in a bag program so that our kids can celebrate birthdays simple cake mix, frosting, plates, candles, napkins, decorations, party for 8, but it matters to that kid. We also are so proud of our toy room. It's our Toys for Tots room. We partner with our Farmington Hills Goodfellows, and we actually get new toys, and we're able to give those to our kids. Some of our kids come to us, maybe they've never had the opportunity to pick out a toy, or even better, to take it home and open it, or break it, or lose pieces. They need to have that experience, so we want to make sure that we provide that. We also have hygiene items. Those are all brand new. That's probably the biggest expense that we have, because we're looking for socks, underwear, all of the good hygiene stuff. We give out full-size hygiene. We need it to be intentional, right? This isn't just to make me feel good, it's to make them feel good. We also have our Hair Care for People Like Me program that is very specific for children that come into care that maybe look different than us. For example, I am Caucasian. If I had somebody that came into my home that was African American or had hair like that, I wouldn't know what to do with it, and most people don't. So we provide some education. We provide the product, it's very expensive, and we provide some background so that hopefully they can get the support that they need. So if you guys could please make sure to check us out, ocfostercloset.org, and we greatly appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Austin, for featuring Oakland County Foster Closet. Good luck with your capital campaign. Edwin Mataschewitz, to be followed by William Steiber.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I did a survey of our Fiber City status today, and I wrote a one-pager for you guys. Basically, it's kind of disappointing. We've got open holes in spots in the subdivision. The worst one is 2 foot in diameter and almost 2.5 feet deep. I talked to them today about it, and I said, we really need to take care of this because I don't want anybody to get hurt. Little kids could fall into the holes. You know, it's not a good situation. And the rest of the subdivision, they've trenched, and they're just not cleaning up after themselves. A lot of the residents are starting to clean up after themselves because, I mean, this is a prime time to work on the outside of your house. So we've got a lot of messy trench where there's just dirt kind of piled in, rocks and stuff on people's lawns. They're not happy about it. I mean, I talked to a bunch of them people today, and they're just very disappointed in the city's approach to this, and the city not pressing Fiber City to clean up after themselves. And even the junction boxes where the fiber is supposed to come together, well, they're sitting up, they're not flat to the grass. They need to be regraded or lowered somehow. Anyway, that's the bottom line. I just want you guys to understand our situation in our subdivision, and we really appreciate if you could press Fiber City people to do a better job.
Thank you. Ms.
That's the
Mondora,
bottom line.
Ms. Mondora, you've got the letter. Does it have addresses of concern?
Yeah, we could, I'll make sure to follow up.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will follow up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
You guys need to get familiar with the new building technology. I mean, I was watching these guys present this stuff here. I mean, one of the things you could do that's really simple is outside lights. They make them now, instead of just dusted dawn, they're dusted dawn and motion. So when there's no motion outside, even though the lights are supposed to be on, they turn off. I mean, I put those in my house. So, I mean, it's something, it's a real simple thing. It's only a couple of dollars. And it raises the energy efficiency, too, of the new houses. Anyway, thank you.
William Steiber is the last one I have for this evening.
Hello. Oops.
Good evening.
By the way, it's pronounced Stieber.
I beg your pardon, sir.
No problem. Basically, per the Oakland County Water Resources Department, Farmington and Farmington Hills has established a minimum water usage charge of 16 units each quarter for all homeowners. For 10 of the last 13 quarters, I have used 16 or fewer units of water. but have been charged for 16 units of water and sewage. It has cost me over $200 extra a year for the water I don't use. For gas and electric, I am charged for actual usage. Why isn't water charged for actual usage? You know, I use the water, I'll pay anything, but I want to be equal to everybody else. I am a sub-driver for Meals on Wheels. I'm pretty sure that the homeowners I deliver to aren't using 16 units of water a quarter. Lots of seniors are on fixed income and don't need to get charged for water they don't use. What can we do about this inequality? I'm willing to talk to anybody on the board or the city manager. I submitted something, I hit a button, and I thought the city council would get my opinions, but I'm not sure if anybody's seen it. But basically, I'm asking to be charged everybody equally for water usage. And what can the city council or city manager, what can we do about it?
So thank you for your comment. This typically is not a give and take, but just so you know, this is a county.
No. Oakland County said I talked to Oakland County. They said Farmington and Farmington Hills established the 16-unit minimum. I've tried through the city clerk, and we can't find that document where they approved it. I can't find anything I have, but basically, the city of Farmington Hills established that minimum. Oakland County, that's what Oakland County says. Other cities pay or have different minimums. They wouldn't tell me because I'm just a resident, but other cities have different minimums.
Okay. So, Ms. Mondora, could you please talk with Mr. Stieber and share with him how the water rates are set and that we're kind of...
I got the meeting notes from last meeting where you rate, all the rates. I got those pieces of paper. I want to know why I'm being charged 16 units per quarter and I'm not using 16 units. I just want to be equal. I want all the old people not to be paying for water they don't use.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and that ends city comment for this evening. Thank you, Ms. Mondora, for spending some time with our resident. And this takes us to the city attorney report.
Yes, I had a discussion with council earlier this evening. That would be my city attorney report. There's nothing additional to report.
Okay, well, thank you. This then is the end of our agenda. We are adjourned. Good night, Farmington Hills.